Jesus never told folks, well, I'm here, you come if you want it, if you really want help. He went to people. He constantly, and I think that's what we have to use as an image of the problem. And the drug dealer does that too. He goes directly to those folks that he wants. He goes to them.
My father is just his heart. He had a real big heart for people. And he just cared a whole lot about people, and especially children.
So I'm saying service providers, the problem, what is happening in these communities is that you can't, I don't care if you put a house right there on site and sit there and think people want to come to you. You got to get involved in those folks' lives. You got to walk the street. You got to get out that 8 to 5 syndrome, and you got to be out there with them. You got to have staff that's willing to do that.
The things that he did because that was the only way that he could get people to hear what he was saying or hear what he was trying to do.
I can't expect kids to hang out and do the things that I think they should do unless I go on their turf and pull them out. And so I'm saying that the problem of agencies is that first you come in with a preconceived ideal and program. Second, you think, do I sit here with the answers and you come and get me? That don't work. It doesn't work.
You know, every year, millions of citizens come together to celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. We are amazed and grateful that these two African-American heroes gave their lives for the betterment of our people and all mankind.
They dedicated and sacrificed their lives to build a better America. Today, so many of our so-called black leaders have trouble dealing with the real issues.
You know, many can talk the talk, but very few can walk the walk. So tonight, we honor a man who truly dedicated his life and love to his people, especially our children. Hi, I'm Mike Russell.
And I'm Nicole Brown.
And tonight, we pay tribute to the late but great ErvIn Brisborne, Sr.
It almost seemed to me this conversation is that the master said this, the master said that, the master said this, and Mr. Charlie said this, and Mr. Charlie said this. We just changed turn to say the superintendent said this, and the board said this. What do the people say?
Give it up or just get ready to fight, you know, because I'm just tired of seeing our kids suffer. And the next time something happened at Page, don't come to running me to cool nothing out, because I'm going to be trying to pump it up, because I'm just tired of watching kids. We went over Page, and we tried to cool those kids out. They called us over there, and then they put in the paper and said, you ain't have no business being over there. Then one lady go tell me the other night, well, we don't want Brisbane and the NAACP folks over there because y'all can be negative by the administration. I don't care what cracker say that I'm negative. I don't care. What I'm saying now, and I'm frustrated now because I'm mad, because it's getting that way. From now on, don't call me when the kids go off, and they go off again. Don't call me, because I'm going to be on the other side pumping it up, because they won't listen to reason. They won't listen at all.
One, those programs that do receive funding from the Guilford County School system, those funds were given to hire the certified teachers. And I'm pretty sure that if those same funds were given to black community-based programs, they would hire certified teachers also. The other thing is that for that criteria to be the base of working with a community-based program in itself is discriminatory based on class. Because I think that many people experience and learn other than from certified teachers. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I have concern about is that the certified teachers may be the reason why children are not achieving now. So we look at the achievement record and the report card of the Guilford County School system to say that we need certified teachers. Well, maybe they need some more certified teachers.
It's liberally done, and it's about race. It's about race. The Housing Authority is the most racist organization. The city government is racist. The police department is racist. And we got a race problem. And black America, as you assimilate and you can deal with it much easier, it's a group of people that's going to affect you and your kids, and we are suffering. And I'm saying it's not just that you won't listen to us, you destroy us. You destroy our kids, you destroy us.
My father's impact on the community was huge because he was more than just a friend to people. He helped people in many ways. I know a lot of the kids that I grew up with, they didn't have fathers. And so, you know, he was there for them too, you know, helping them through school, you know, teaching them the same things that he taught us. And he just helped out a whole lot of people. Anybody that needed help, if he could help them, he was there for them. And he didn't never look down on anybody. He was always there to help out everybody.
What I remember most about my father is just his heart. He had a real big heart for people, and he just cared a whole lot about people, and especially children, and minority children. He was open to all kinds of kids, and just if they didn't have that parental guidance, he was willing to be there. But at the same time, we never felt deprived as his kids, and just his love is still here for us, and I guess that's what I go on a whole lot of the time when I need strength.
He was my everything. He was that strong arm whenever I needed it. He was my confidant. He was my children's daddy, father. Whatever made me happy, that's what made him happy. And it's true, he didn't spend as much time with me most of the time that I would have liked him to, but I came to know that what he was doing was ultimately his love, because he loved kids, and it made him happy to try and help kids.
I read a story in the paper yesterday about a kid from New York City that was young, that didn't want to get in drugs, so a big bully guy tied him up and beat him and then set him afire. So I'm saying that you can't expect to teach a young kid and don't deal with those other kids. So it's got to be a comprehensive program that start with black kids, low-income kids, and any kids from preschool all the way up through the high school age to deal with it. You got to have a comprehensive program, because you can work with them here, and then they are influenced by this group here, and we lose kids. What I'm seeing now is that the kids that I worked with some years ago, because of the influx of drugs, and they developing their youth gang, that the drug users are moving into the youth gangs now. So it has to be a comprehensive program, not working with a small group hoping that you can save them, because they have to, after they leave your program, or they leave that basketball game, or they leave that league, they have to go back in that same environment. So you have to be working with the total community. You can't leave anybody out, parents, teenagers, all the small kids. It got to be a total comprehensive program, and you can't do it for those people or for us. We have to tell you what we want, and there's no organization in those communities to do that, because it was deliberately destroyed by the housing authority, by the city government. And I'm telling you, look at the record. It was deliberately done. The environment that exists is not because people wanted that way. It was deliberately set up, and then you put the police down on top of people. That's backwards. It's wrong.
For a very special gift
The criticisms that my father got, I don't think they affected me in terms of just making me upset, because I knew what my father was about. The only thing I feared was his safety, because, you know, you hear so much stuff, and in terms of the black people, most of the time when I heard stuff, it was people who were afraid to speak up, who wanted to keep their position, who were afraid to challenge, I guess, situations that are set in place because they fear they'll lose what they have.
I didn't find it hard to accept or to hear negative things that were said about my husband, because I knew the type of person that he was. I knew the reasons that he did things that he did. I just knew the type of person that he was, and the things that he did because that was the only way that he could get people to hear what he was saying or hear what he was trying to do.
The criticism that I heard from, you know, the newspapers and on the news, I didn't really, you know, think about it. I know it wasn't true. I knew what type of person he was. I knew what he stood for and what he believed in. And I know he didn't like it, but he didn't really pay much attention to it. He just kept on doing what he had to do. He didn't back down from anything. He didn't back down from anybody. And what I took from it was that, you know, I hear all these people, all the school board people down to him and talking about him and stuff like that. But I just know that he's on the right path and doing what he's supposed to do. I never doubted what he was doing was right. And so it didn't never faze me in any kind of way.
The other concern that I have is the mentioning of building new schools based on the population growth in certain areas of the city. And most of that being in northwest or the western part of the city. What would happen? Will our children again be bused away from our community? If that is the problem, you have to build schools because the population is so big in one area. You can still build a school on the other side of town and bus them for a while. But we don't know what the system has in plan about drawing new attendance line. There are some ideas of special schools, magnet schools. In other words, there is a secret plan. But again, I feel that we will get shortchanged again. That one side of town we get new schools again. Our children will be bused. Or our children would be put in special schools or magnet schools, and we have no decision in this process. So why should we vote for a bond referendum that would give people new schools and the possibility of us being bused again and the possibility of us being sitting in a special program? This bond referendum is not in the best interest of the black community and not in the best interest of poor black or white communities, because we haven't had any input. And what I'm hearing now, I am totally against anyone voting this bond package into existence. Again, don't let people bust our children around the world again and be miseducated and then tell us that we got to hire one of your teachers to help our kids in the community to get back on track. I think that's wrong and it's unfair.
Well, my father was deeply involved in the redistricting, and I guess that's the last thing people remember him for, because he went to jail for the redistricting. And recently, you know, they had voted to tear Dudley down and build a new one, but the decision was changed and they're going to keep the building and renovate it. And I wanted the building to be kept, and I even tried to do different meetings in school to get people aware of what was going on. I'm glad they're keeping it, and I hope that they'll keep their word and renovate it like they say they would.
And so we was walking, and one of the officers drove up in his car, pulled out this big old dog, came up and told the guys, you know the routine, let's get it up. And he was real nasty. He was terribly nasty. And so I just told him that, first of all, I don't understand the routine because we citizens like anywhere else, and it reminded me of South Africa. It was no different than South Africa. And so the drug problem has not diminished at all. They move from one spot to another, but the pressure is being put on teenagers and young folks And by the time he started talking to us, it was at least 4 or 5 other carloads that came up. Then they came in with the same nasty attitude. And so we talked to him, and we said we was planning for this meeting and a weekend away. And my problem with the whole setup is that it's almost like a concentration camp now. And people don't go get those services because people don't reach out and go into the homes and spend time with people. So the whole setup was wrong. The reason it was wrong is that the housing authority destroyed any leadership and direction from people themselves to direct programs. They came in and dumped programs on people. And so what I see, and guys told me after the police left that was a nice situation. They've been thrown on the ground in mud with shotguns cocked behind their head.
The thing that I remember the most about what my dad taught me is that you got to keep working hard, you know, and you just can't never give up. And, you know, I know he went through a lot of rough times. It was always hard on him, but he never just said, I quit, you know, I can't do it no more. He always was working hard, and I see that now because it's been real hard for me, but I still keep going on because I know if he could go through it, I know I can get through it. Because the things that he went through is no comparison, because he went through a whole lot more than what I'm going through. So I know if he can get through it and go through it, I know I got to go through it.
When you reach out to kids, if you come preaching to them, you lock them up. But if they can see the love of Christ in you by the actions and the thing that you do, and you showing the love to them that Christ would show to them, that's when they want to know, well, what you about? What make you different than everybody else? But you come talking about, hey, boy, you need to be saved. Hey, boy, you better. Those terms turn them off because we have said in so many years. But if you go and say, hey, blood, what's up? What you doing? We need to do some positive things. Let me take you to this. Let me take you to that. We can change their life, but the church is not relevant. The church is behind those walls. And those values, I'm telling you, those middle-class white values has gotten our community in trouble. The reason the black community is going down because we ran away from our community, ran into those 4 walls of a church that teach us to be just like white people. And the only thing that we gave the rest of the community is these color TV sets and VCRs and the HBO and all the negative stuff. Now the church is not relevant. So I think that the church need to realize that we need to go back and re-educate ourselves.
There have been many times when Ervin would bring kids to our house. Maybe their parents weren't at home, or it was a single family, mom raising kids, and he was trying to help out. He'd bring them over to our house, and I would feed them and clothe them, whatever I could do, whatever we could do, we did. But he just, he was just a beautiful person, and he was a beautiful husband too.
Many people say there are angels in disguise. I know that he was one. Me speaking at my father's funeral was actually sort of surreal because, you know, at the time, I guess his spirit was in me because now, sitting here, I don't know how I did it. And I just knew that I wanted people to know, regardless of what they thought, that he wasn't going anywhere. He still lives in me. And regardless of what people may think now, there's always going to be a struggle. And now it's my turn, and I'm his legacy. And that's what he always taught me. I'm his legacy, and what I have to do is remember that I have a responsibility to my ancestors to help young black kids realize the potential, the beauty that they have in themselves. And I guess I spoke at the funeral because I wanted people to know what you see on TV, what you saw of my father, was just a small part of the person that he was. And I guess the beauty that I saw in him, I wanted everybody else to see. As a child, he always called me his little black angel. Now I know he is my angel. Most people knew me and my father had a bond that was different from any other. He had a passion for his work, and he shared this with me. He always taught me who I was as a person and the power I had as a young black woman to continue his struggle. Most teenagers complain about not being able to talk to their parents, but my daddy was the type of father who was always open to hear what his little girl had to say. I remember he and my mother used to say that they hoped that I would be a girl and their wish came true, and he never once let me forget how important I was to him. Most people knew the busy, hard-working man, but I knew the caring, big-hearted, loving, and sharing daddy. I think what hurts the most is I'll never be able to get those hugs and kisses and the knowledge he had so much of. He gave us enough love to last for eternity. I have no doubt that my father was proud of me and loved me with all his heart as I did him. He once told me he was so glad to see his legacy before he left this earth. I am his legacy, and I plan to continue his struggle. He is a man of courage and strength and will never refuse a person in need. In my 16 years on this earth, I have been through so many different experiences that have helped me to understand who I am as a black woman, where I came from, and the responsibilities I have to my ancestors, and where I plan to go in the future. My father has been with me as well as my mother through the entire journey. My father always told me I was different from other children, and now I'm beginning to understand what he means. Children were always the most important thing to him, and he never wanted injustice for black children who were the most important to him. There will never be another man like my father. I am you, you are within me, and I love you, Daddy. You're a little black angel always.
I think the appropriate thing that this city should do to honor my dad would be to have his own day, like Martin Luther King. Because he not only did a lot for the community, he just stood up for what was right, not just for black people, but for everybody. And that's what people need to understand. A lot of people in the school board and people that was like in the higher up, like over school board and stuff, they just looked at him as a troublemaker, as somebody who was just, stood up for black people, and that was it. But he stood up for who was right and what was right. And he was a lot like Martin Luther King and a lot of other the great leaders that we know of. And he should have his own day, just like Martin Luther King did, just for this city. And that would mean a whole lot if he had his own day on his birthday. We should celebrate that day by, just remembering him and just taking time out to remember him. I don't think we had to take a day off or anything like that, just because he never took a day off. He was always working hard. So just always remember him on that day. Just acknowledge that that's his day. Remember him every day, not just that day, but every day.
Keeping my husband's memory alive in this city would be a hard task. But anyway, he spent a lot of time over in what used to be known as the Grove, Morningside Homes, and I thought that maybe a street over there could be named after him to honor his memory, seeing as that we lived there and a lot of the kids that he helped lived there and grew up there. I guess naming a street after him over in the Grove would be a good way to honor his memory.
I guess in honor of my father and the work he did in Greensboro, to me, a school in his honor would be good because that's what he fought so hard for. But a school that was really committed to understanding black culture and black children, because he fought so hard in the public schools, and I don't think a lot of people understood just how dedicated he was and just how many hours he spent just trying to find out on his own what was going on in public schools, what he could do to fix things and make things better for minority kids.
This is American justice. That's right. This is American democracy. And those of you who are familiar with it know that in America, democracy is hypocrisy.
One of the officers drove up in his car, pulled out this big old dog, came up and told the guys, you know the routine, let's get it up. And he was real nasty. He was terribly nasty. And so I just told him that, first of all, I don't understand the routine because we citizens like anywhere else.
Democracy is hypocrisy. Right. If democracy means freedom, why are our people free? Right. If democracy means justice, why don't we have justice? Right. If democracy means equality, why don't we have equality?
It almost seemed to me this conversation is that the master said